All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. So good morning to you all. I'm Joanna Almatine. I'm Director of Grants and Contracts with the Family League. Today is our final day of an information-packed week of sessions for our annual Funded Partners meeting. For those of you who joined us throughout the week, we thank you so much for your participation and appreciate all of you who are joining us on our final day. The presentation today is specifically geared to highlight our grants management system called Funding Track, which many of you may be familiar with. Our IT team will be providing you with a general overview of the system, along with step-by-step instructions to complete various tasks that are critical to your contract requirements and overall compliance. There will be an opportunity for question and answers at the end of the presentation today. So we are asking that you provide your questions through the chat function of our session, and we will answer them in the order that they are received. Lastly, I wanted to advise everyone that this virtual meeting is being recorded and will be made available to each of you via email and also on our website, www.familylead.org, on tomorrow, Friday, August the 20th. One additional note, our final local hiring information session will take place this afternoon at 1 p.m. We appreciate the great turnout that we received on yesterday at our first session. So for those of you who were unable to attend, we encourage you to join us today at 1 p.m. These sessions are very important in preparing you for the upcoming and mandatory requirement regarding local hiring. In the session, you will be guided through the reporting process and provided with specific details of what's required. So again, come back later today to join us. The meeting link for this session is being added in the chat right now for your use so that you can join if you did not receive the meeting invite via email. So now I'll turn it over to our IT team. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Patrick O'Connor. I'm the Business Systems Administrator here at Family League. And just a little bit about myself. One of my responsibilities is really in Funding Track, taking care of the back end of Funding Track, doing a lot of the coding for the grant applications and the grant reviews and the reports, like the standard budget report, which we'll be walking through today from inception to the end of Q1 expenses. Also scopes and monthly data reports and the grantee portal, any escalated tickets to the help desk. So that's part of what I do. And so we'll be going through the standard budget a little bit later on this morning. And so I want to introduce Chevy, our IT help desk. And so Chevy's gonna guide us through the ABCs of Funding Track. And I'm gonna pass it on to Chevy to go ahead and introduce herself and to take it from there until I come back a little bit later in the program. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to introduce myself once we get into the training of it. So we're going to talk about Funding Track and what we can do for you guys. So if you're new to Funding Track, training is available through our professional development. You can go to familyleague.org under Strengthening Organizations, and you can click the professional development link to look at the calendar and sign up for any trainings that are available and that interest you. If you need to register your organization, you want to go under our website and you want to register there. And there's tutorials available to assist you in that process. If you're already a Funding Track user and you have questions or you're having a technical issue or something's not working as it should, you can feel free to reach out to our help desk. So how do you get into help desk? So help desk is available to you 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. officially. You can email support@familyleague.org, or you can actually call it in. You can phone it in. If you choose to phone it in, what it does, it creates a voice note attached to a ticket. So it's still going to come in through our ticketing system. So whether you decide to email it in or phone it in, you always want to include your name, your organization, your program type, any details about your site or school, and of course, the details of the issue at hand, so we can get to work and get you back up and running. So what is Funding Track and what is Flux, right? Because when you log in there, you're going to see the Flux icon. So let's start there. So Flux is the software development company. They're the company that created Funding Track, which is our grant management system, right? So if you see that icon and you happen to click on it, you're going to go outside of Funding Track to the developer website. You may not want to do that. Funding Track is where you're going to apply for funding. So if you're a new person, you're going to apply for funding. If you're a current partner, you can also apply for funding. And you are going to use this system to actually to submit reports and the data that you need once you are selected for funding. Next slide. All right, so I promised I would introduce myself. That's me. And funny enough, I'm wearing the same blazer today. So my name is Chevy Eversley. I am your IT help desk person. So if you've ever sent in a ticket to support@familyleague.org, you sent it to me, and I'm a real person and not a robot. I am an island girl. I have a love-hate relationship with rice and potatoes. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. And I love all things sunshine and the beach, right? So I'm sure I have some fans in here, some people that are on board with that too, right? It's summer. So let's go, next slide. All right, so it's a little bit of an agenda of what we're gonna talk about. So we're gonna remind you about reaching out to help desk, which we just touched on, but a little duplicated here. We're gonna talk about how do you get in there? How, the browser, the address, how do you log in? Once you get in there, who's in there, right? The different levels of access that exist in the system. Yes, I see I have fans here. We love the sunshine and the beach. We're going to talk about what it looks like on the home screen, the navigation, completing reports, uploading documents, and what that looks like once you do with the submission and the notifications that may come up, and the different reporting states in there. And at the end, we will have some Q&A. We'll have time for some Q&A, and you can ask all the questions you want. You can also drop questions in the chat, like Dewana has mentioned to us in the beginning. Right, so how do you get help? As I mentioned a couple slides ago, we're gonna talk about it again. Support@familyleague.org. And I don't ever get tired of saying that, support@familyleague.org, right? So if you ever get into the system, you need to reset your password, you're looking for a report, it's not there, or you just have a question in general, we're here to help. And support is available to you. Call it in, email it in, and give us all the details necessary. Okay, so you want to follow the white rabbit that's on that screen right there. How do you get into the system? How do you start this process, right? So first of all, you're going to be logging in to Funding Track. You're going to need a username and password. If you do not already have a username and password to this system, there's a couple ways you get in there. So first of all, if you're registering and applying for funding, that's going to take you automatically through the process of registering your organization and yourself and gain you access into the system once everything's approved. Or you may want to reach out to your organization and have them reach out to funded partnerships to create a username and password for you in the system so you could gain access. So once you have that username and password, you're going to type in that little address that's in that green box right there, and that's flb.flux.io. It is a secure site, so it's HTTPS, but you're typing in FLB, like Family League of Baltimore, .fluxx.io. All right, there's another way you can get to the website. On the login page, you can actually navigate there from our website. So if you go to familyleague.org and you go to strengthening organizations, and then the subheader funded partnerships, there's going to be a further subheader on that page for Funding Track, and it'll be a big orange button that says Funding Track. And you're going to click that and it'll take you directly to that same login page. All right, so like I mentioned before, What you need to get in there is the username and password. You're also going to see a blue hyperlink on that login page. So if you've forgotten your password, you're already an existing user, but you've forgotten your password and your login access, you can click that blue link and recreate your password. Or if you're having issues with that, what do? You're going to email support@familyleague.org, and I'll be there to assist you with that. Okay, so who's who in Funding Track? So there's going to be user profiles that exist for staff, and then there are profiles that exist for our funders, our funded partners like yourself, right? So we have 3 levels in there. How do you get your username? Okay, so I'm going to come back to that. So first level of access that's in there is the most limited one that you see on the screen here, reviewer. The reviewer access is pretty much folks who volunteer to review applications. There's going to be like a list of already established criteria. You're going to be assigned specific applications to review, and you're going to review the responses based on the already established criteria, and that's it. You're not going to have free access to roam the system to do anything else. All right, so the review is like the most limited. You view and you submit scores, and that's it. If you're program staff, you're going to have the role like a community school coordinator, OST, site manager, site director, frontline staff, that type of thing. You're going to have the ability to view documents in there. You're going to be able to edit documents. You're going to be able to save that information that you added into the system. And you're going to have the ability to submit. However, not just because you can submit means that you should, right? So we put in here, you may want to double check with your organization, double check with your lead agency oversight person if you're the person that's going to be the one submitting documents, and that's critical, all right? And then we have the oversight person. So that lead agency oversight person, your organization may have multiple sites, multiple schools. That person kind of oversees all of that. They kind of, run all the things. So when they log in there, they're also going to have the ability to view, but their view is going to be of everything, all the sites, right? So if you're a program staff person, that's the difference there. You may be assigned to see specific reports that are linked to your site or your school. But your oversight person, your lead agency person, when they log in, they're going to see reports and documents that are related to all the sites that fall within your organization, all right? And they're going to have the same abilities. They can view, they can edit, they can save, and they can submit. All right, so just like that, we are halfway through my agenda. I promise you this isn't going to be a long process, and it's pretty simple. Let's get to work. So this little grayed out screen shows you what it looks like when you first log in. And this view, if you look at the left gray column, there are 2 headers there too. So this is what it looks like for program staff. So they see a little bit less than what your lead agency person would see. Next slide. And this screen that's captured on the right on this slide, this is what it looks like if you are a lead agency oversight person. So you notice there are 4 headers there, all right? So these are the headers you're gonna find. So once you log in, it lands you on our welcome information page. And what that page tells you, a little bit of navigation tips. It reminds you that you wanna use Chrome. I forgot to mention that before. Chrome, the system is optimized for Chrome use. Now you may try using Funding Track or logging into Funding Track using a different type of browser. You may use Edge or something, but it may not function as it should. Things may not appear as they should, and so on. So if you want the best use possible, you always want to go through a Chrome browser and then log into flb.flux.io. All right, so the headers that you'll find on that page. So under the welcome header, that you land on, there's also going to be the funding opportunities link, right? That subheader is there. So if we have existing funding applications out there for you, you're going to find them there. You can click anything that interests you and you can apply for funding. All right. There's going to be the 4 main headers. So those are, like I said, the information as the main header. It welcomes you and it gives you the opportunity to link to the funding opportunities. We have the applications header. This is where you'll see active contracts in there. Previous ones, if you're a lead agency person, you're going to see active and previous ones and so on. And existing applications, if you are in the middle of an application and you saved it, it'll be there as pending applications and so on. Then we have the reports header. You're going to see all the reports that are, in your system there. So you're going to have like reports like scopes, budgets, expenses, and the reports that you're going to enter data on a regular basis, whether it's monthly, quarterly, and so on. And then we have the organizations header. And the organization header really just shows you the organization that you are linked to. If you have access to multiple organizations, which is a possibility, you may be linked to more than one organization. The one that's primary is what's going to show up if you click organizations. At the bottom of the page, you see that Flux link there that we mentioned before. So the Flux logo, that link will take you to the developer page. But what I want you to pay attention to is the little gear at the bottom, right? That link will allow you to log back out the system, and it will also allow you to change your password. All right, so this is the flow of traffic in the system. This is how you move. This is how you get around in the system. So when you think about the flow of traffic, I want you to think about a traffic light, right? So we have the red, yellow, and green. So when we see red, you're supposed to stop, right? So in the very first column there, usually you're going to stop on that program and data header. All right, this is where all your reports are going to be found. So you definitely want to stop there. Most people, when you're navigating through the system, this is where you're going to go. This is where you start from. So it's the main place to be, right? And then when you click the program and data link, it's going to open up that second column that you see that's in yellow and amber. So what happens when you're getting to the traffic light and you see yellow? You're supposed to do what? Slow down. Well, I know some of us don't slow down, right? Some of us, we might be trying to speed up to beat the light. But what you're supposed to do is you're going to slow down, right? So this is where you want to slow down. You want to be careful. You want to go through what's listed in that second column, because you may have multiple items listed there. You may have multiple reports listed there, especially if you're a lead agency oversight person, right? You're going to have the same report by 5 if you have 5 sites or schools, right? So you want to be careful. So you click in the box there and you're going to see certain information. It's going to give you the type of report. So not sure if you can see it on the screen. It might be a little tiny, but in this particular box, in this example, it says the community school action plan and scope of work, right? It tells us the due date. It tells us the fiscal year. It tells us the status of the report, which in this case, it's in the new status, and so on and so forth. So this is how you can distinguish between the different types of reports that are available for you to edit and work on, right? So you want to be careful and choose the right one that you want to work on. Now, once you've selected that one, on the third part of the screen on the right, in green, is where everything happens. This is where the magic happens, right? This is where you go, okay? So in the green section, you can view, you can print, you can edit, you can save, and you can submit. I want to mention printing here, especially because in our system, once you've submitted a report, it leaves your view. So if it's something that you need access to, or you may want to review it after you've submitted it, you might want to go back through what you've submitted. It's always going to be a good idea to print that item, print that document, or print that report before you submit it, because once you do, poof, it's gone and it's in our view, ready for review and approval process. Okay. Time to play. So how do you get started? How do you work this machine, right? Where you put the coin in on that gamer, right? you go through the edit button. So there's going to be the blue hyperlink on the top right of your screen. And that's where you enter everything. You click edit and it opens up the report in edit mode for you where you can actually enter the data. Next slide. All right. So once you get in there, what type of reports are you going to find in there? What type of things are you going to be working on? So we compiled a list across programs to give you an idea of that. Depending on the program type that you're working with, it may have a slightly different title here and there, but generally this is the gist of the type of reports that you may find in there. You may even find new ones if we create new ones, right? So in there, you're going to find things like the scope of work, EYP, performance measures, staffing and criminal background, administrative documentation, financial statements, monthly expense reports, all the fun stuff, right? Standard budget and the monthly data report. All right, so let's talk about completing a report. So when you are in that edit mode, so you've already clicked edit on the top right of the screen and your report opens up. It's gonna look kind of like the sample report that we created here on the screen. You're gonna find the fields are blank and you're gonna know which fields need requiring depending on what you click into, right? So you click in there, you're gonna see that little blinking cursor. That tells you you need to put something in there, right? So you definitely wanna follow the directions that are specific to that report. In some reports, on the top part there where you see sample report, sometimes there's a header there and it tells you click this, click that, save this, then do that. So you always want to follow the instructions of that specific report, especially if instructions are included. It's there for a reason. But if you skip past that, like some people might do, you can, and you run into an issue with trying to fill out your report, guess what? Support is available to you. You can simply email us at support@familyleague.org and I will help you figure it out, okay? So don't worry, if you forget everything that I've said today, it's fine. You have support available to you at all times. All right, so when you click on the field, it determines whether or not it should be completed. Like I mentioned, you're gonna have that blinking cursor. Some of the fields on the reports, they actually calculate automatically based on information you put in other fields. So if you're familiar with Excel, it's kind of like that, right? So you put in an amount here, you put in an amount there, and then in the follow-up question, you know, a couple questions later, it totals all of that up, right? So this is especially true of our financial types of reports. So things like expenses and budgets and whatnot. It's going to help you calculate. So you want to be careful when you enter those amounts and so on. Some fields will be optional, while some, I should say most, are mandatory. So if you've ever tried to submit a report, or you may run into this issue, you try to submit a report and it gives you a warning or an error message, it may be that you are missing some stuff. And we're going to talk about that when we get to the notifications real soon. Next slide. All right, so document upload. Some reports require that you attach stuff to it, okay? So if you open a report and that report requires that you upload a document or a picture or a file or an Excel spreadsheet or whatever it is, you're gonna be looking for that document upload dialog box. That's usually at the bottom of your report. So you wanna scroll through. At the bottom, keep scrolling. If you don't see it yet, it's somewhere in there. It's at the bottom, right? So you're going to find that first box. Now, we created some screenshots on the side of this slide so you can kind of see what that's going to look like. So the very first box here shows you the document upload dialog box. And the arrow is pointing to a blue cross inside of a blue circle. So that's like a little hyperlink there as well. You're going to click that and it's going to open up to what you see as that second screenshot, that second box, right? So it's going to allow you to upload your documents directly from your device, directly from your computer, okay? So if your report requires that you upload something, you want to make sure that you've completed that document, you've saved it, it's on your computer, maybe on your desktop, and it's ready for you to upload and attach, because this allows you to upload it directly from your computer into the report, all right? Once you are uploading, you're going to see an option, which is the third box. You're going to see, you may see this option. Let me say it that way. You may see this option, especially if that report requires that you upload multiple things. Ooh, bless you. Is that somebody sneezing? Okay. So you are required to upload multiple things. You're going to have this third dialog box. So you're going to allow the opportunity to choose. You're going to have that opportunity to choose which type of document you're uploading. This is critical because the system is really sensitive that way. For example, in the picture that we're looking at, that third box, you see the blue highlight is on something called the leverage funds tracker, right? It's listed as the leverage funds tracker. So let's say you have to upload 4 types of documents, but if you do not select something from that drop down arrow to indicate what type of document it is, it's going to default to whatever is highlighted there. So in this case, you may upload a scope of work, you may upload a supports and partnership tracker, you upload a leverage funds tracker, and you upload a selfie. And the system's going to think all 4 of those things are leverage funds trackers, right? So when you go on to try to submit the report, it's going to say, hello, you didn't submit the other stuff, right? So to you, you've submitted everything, but the system was not told what type of documents you uploaded, right? So I just threw the selfie in there for fun, but you get my drift, right? Okay, so you always want to make sure if it's a report that requires multiple things, you want to select what type of document it is to satisfy the requirements of that report so you can submit successfully. And as always, if you run into a problem there and the system is giving you error message and you don't quite understand what's going on and you forgot everything I said, you can email us at support@familyleague.org and I'm there for you, all right? So then we have the last box at the bottom. This is what it looks like after you've attached a document or whatever it is to the report. It's going to appear to you as a blue hyperlink that you can go back and click and you can see exactly what you uploaded. All right. So if there's something you uploaded by accident, you can have it removed, or if it's something, you just want to double check that you've covered all the bases, check, I've uploaded my selfie, check, I have uploaded my leverage funds tracker, check. This is where you're going to see that. And you can go over the things that you've uploaded to make sure you have everything you're supposed to. Next slide. Look at that. We're almost done. Don't you love me? All right. So we're going to talk next about the submissions and the notifications. Next slide. Okay. So this slide was added on purpose so that I can reiterate that you always want to save your information before you submit. And save is the primary thing you want to do in the system, and you always want to make sure before you submit. So save the day, don't submit, because once you submit, it's going to be gone. It's gone from your view. And I've gotten tickets like that. Like, oh my God, I've submitted a report and now it's gone and the house is on fire. No, it's not. It just left your view. And it's now in our view for us to begin the review process and get your report or document approved, right? So always be sure if you're going to submit, always be sure. So save first to make sure that the information is there and then submit. Next slide. All right, so look who's talking now. I think that was a movie title, wasn't it? So look who's talking. When you are in the system, yes, I'm a movie buff. When you're in the system talks back. It talks back to you, not like, with a voice, but it tells you by these notifications and these symbols and whatnot. So when you are saving, yeah, I can't be anything other than high energy. Thank you. So when you are in the system and you save the information or you click save or submit, either one, you're going to have that little floating box. Now this is the gray one, but you're going to see one that has like 3 colors in there, right? And it's going to be spinning, like the little paperclip man. I know I'm dating myself when I say the paperclip man, but you know what I'm talking about, right? So it spins for a few seconds and it lets you know that it's been submitted and it's in there. So it's just a few seconds, going to spin, and then it's going to tell you one of two things. The report was successfully updated or it's not, right? So you get that checkbox in the middle, or you're going to get that warning symbol thing that's on the right. Okay. Now, if you get that warning symbol on the right, it usually tells you what's wrong. So in this example, we attempted to submit a report and we didn't fill out anything. So there's a long list of stuff that it's telling us that it needs, right? So you may not be able to see it. I'm going to read some of that to you. It's a little blurry for me too. It says, unable to promote. These error messages were found. Different address can't be blank. Program start date can't be blank. Program end date can't be blank. We put everything blank in this example, right? So it tells you exactly what's wrong. So when you get that error message, you want to pay attention to what's in that little fine print of the box, because it's actually helping you. It's trying to help you to identify what's wrong so that you can get it submitted successfully without an issue, right? And furthermore, when you click that red little X there, that little X there on the top of that, and that error message goes away, it actually reopens the report in edit mode for you, and it takes you back to the fields that need your attention. Those fields are usually highlighted in red. So the system is so helpful. It takes you right back, say, okay, so these are the things that are wrong, and let's take you back to fix it, right? So it's really, really helpful and sensitive that way. Now, if you didn't get that message and you were submitted, you know, you clicked and you updated something, you saved something, or you have submitted something, the bottom screenshot that's there is what it looks like to notify you that something was done. This is especially helpful when you have folks, multiple folks have access to the same report. All right, so it's very helpful that way. So if you're a lead agency person that's looking at the report and you're the program staff person editing stuff in there, this is going to tell either of you, oh, someone updated something, you know, someone added, you know, something in there. Carrie went in there and she saved something under program and data, right? Or Tanya, you know, she went in there and she saved something under the scopes. Right. So it tells you what's going on. It tells you that something was, you know, something or some things were updated. In that middle column where it says on the top, one update available, if multiple things are updated, that number is going to change as well. So you may see two things, three things, you know, it just depends on how many things were updated. But this is where it tells you stuff was updated. This is a good way for you to gauge as well. If you've entered data and you save the data, this tells you that your save went through. Because we've had, you know, situations where I've had tickets where it's the end of the month and a report is due and everyone and their grandma is in funding track at the same time, trying to get that work in last minute. And what happens, the system might get a little slower, it might get a little laggy. And we've had that random issue where someone saved something and it didn't really go through. They have to go back and make sure, right? So always make sure you get that little pop-up telling you that the item is saved and you'll be good to go. Next slide. So let's talk about the status flow. Like my puns. So the status flow in the system is how things operate. So we mentioned when you submit a report, it leaves your view, it starts the process in our view. This is what we're talking about. So let me start with the warning. Reports are only visible to users in one of these states, right? So it has to be visible in that state. If that report's not ready for you to do anything to it, it's not ready for you to enter data, it's not going to be there. It's not going to show up. Or if that report is already submitted and now it's in the process where it's received by us and it's in the review process, it's not going to be in your view either, right? So it has to be in one of those reporting states for it to be in your view, for you to get in there and edit and save the data, all right? All the other states are viewable by Family League admin, all right? So all reports first appear to you in the reporting status. That might be new. That might be quarter one. That might be the month. it just depends on that report that you're looking at and the frequency of it. So that report might be a monthly thing. You might be into your monthly data report. You might be into your quarterly report and so on. So depending on the frequency of it, the status of that report is what you're going to see. It's going to tell you, okay, this is time for Q4 reporting and so on, right? Once everything is completed, at the end of that life cycle, at the end of that contract, it goes to approved status, okay? Reports may be returned to users if they have not been completed correctly or until they meet the requirements for approval. So this is the return status. So you may submit something, you've satisfied all the system requirements, but when they review it, there's stuff in there, maybe you need to add something, maybe you need to change something, and you're good to go, all right? Okay, wait a minute, oops. Go back to the last slide. It was something I mentioned. Okay, so in this chart right here, this flow chart shows you what it looks like. So it's in reporting status for you to work on it. You submit it, and it can either go through all the process and come back approved, or you submit it, it is returned to you for you to update whatever is needed. Then you submit it again, and then it may come back to you in approved status. So that's pretty much it. Simple and smooth. Are there any questions? Thank you. How can I register for a training? So we have funding track training that occurs every month. I do a training. I do an 11 a.m. and I do a 6 p.m. training every month. Usually I do them on the same day, call it my training day, movie pun. Let's see, let's go back through the questions. You're gonna find the link to the trainings under our professional development on familyleague.org. So familyleague.org, strengthening organizations, funded partnerships, professional development, and you'll see that professional development link and to the calendar, and you click that item and you register for it. It's as simple as that. Let me go back through the questions. And we're working on speeding the system up, okay. The system has been slow each time I attempt to use it. Okay, it tends to slow down in my experience. It tends to slow down usually when it's close to a deadline. Yep, that's usually the slowest. So maybe you get in there maybe a little bit before the deadline, you're probably gonna go through a lot faster. You are absolutely welcome. Did I miss any other questions? Nope, I think we have the questions answered in the chat. Perfect. Yep, all the questions are answered in the chat.
I have one question. I'm sorry, I'm not typing fast enough.
Okay.
If it says FY21, does that mean July 21 to June 22?
So if it's going to 22, it's going to be FY22.
Oh, okay, so it has to say FY22 for it to be this program year.
Right.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Chevy. That was fantastic.
No problem. My pleasure.
Yes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is talk about the standard budget, increasing the due dates. I'm going to close my my video so I can read my script over here. So let's talk about creation and due dates. So for the standard budget report, you will first create the budget, and once it's approved, the budget will move to the Q1 report state. And so today we're gonna walk through that process. We're gonna walk through how to actually create the budget and the Q1 expenses. And just for FYI, all quarterly reports are due and funding track by the 15th of the month following the end of the quarter. So all Q1 reports, are due October 15th. So that's July through September. And as Chevy had mentioned earlier, if you ever want to have any issues or questions, just reach out to our support at support@family.org. Okay. So here we have the login page. And as Chevy mentioned earlier, she showed you how to log in. Down in the right-hand corner where it says, please note the system requires Chrome. If you don't have Chrome on your laptop or computer, you can click on this link right here, download Chrome, and that will download a copy of Chrome to your computer. So, this system requires Chrome to be used. So if you do not have it, please download that onto your computer. Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, we have menu and grouping. So as Chevy mentioned earlier, this first column, I call this like the first column, it's kind of like the second column. And it's grouped, as she says, into different areas, information and applications, reports, and the organizations. And so when you log in, you'll come to the welcome page, as Chevy mentioned, it gives you some information on how to navigate the system. Okay, and then yes, and so especially in the reporting area, you have, today we're going to focus on the expenses area. And so next slide, please. Go. Okay, let's lower my computer. Okay, it came up. So I want to also highlight something. If you look at the top of the screen, that first column, it has test org. That's the organization I'm using for our testing here. But if you had more than one organization that you were affiliated with, associated with, that would be a drop down, and you could see another organization that you're affiliated with, and all of those reports would come up. So it's kind of it's nice that way, where it filters that for you. Notice on the funding opportunities section right there, we have 2 grants that are available. When I was doing this slide screenshot, and so you'll see in the green area, please click here, and that will open up that RFP. And then down below, where we have the RFA, you click on that green area, and that'll open up that RFA for you to apply. So this is where you apply for funding grant opportunities. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is called my third, I call this the third column here. So our first column is like where all of our menus are. The second column is all of the reports area. So if you click down, look at reports and see expenses is clicked, it's kind of highlighted. And when you click on expenses, all the expenses show up in that second column. And you'll notice that the one that's kind of highlighted in green, it says test org CACFP at the bottom. That's the one I clicked on, and this third column opens up, and that is the actual report itself that's available. And as Chevy had mentioned, the edit icon, edit button is on the right-hand upper corner. Oh, thank you. And then you can always print your document. And if you print it, oh, that's perfect. You can print your document, it'll print as a PDF. And I highly recommend that you print as often as you want to. It's a good idea to print. So that's great to do that. So you have a document for yourself. Also, to help our partners, we created a budget modification instructional video. So you'll see that right there. There's a video there. So later on during the fiscal year, if you want to modify your budget, you can always click on this video. It's and maximize it and take a look at that. I like videos because I can stop them and go back in case I missed something, or I thought it said this and it said that, and so I go back and look at the video. So just an FYI, we're going to create more videos for different reports in the coming fiscal year to help our partners fill out their data in the reports. So that's what we're planning on doing. But this is a great report video to look at. Let's see. Okay, the next slide, please. There we go. So I want you to notice in the third column, the unallowable cost addendum. And so when you click on that, it'll actually download a PDF of the unallowable costs. And it's good to do this and take a look at what is not allowed in your budget. So let's click the next slide, please. And I'll actually show you So when we downloaded that PDF, this is what it looks like. Unallowable cost addendum. And I would recommend, like I said, reading that as you enter in your expenses. And that way you know what is and is not allowed. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so once you edit the expense report, standard budget report, you're going to come to different categories, okay? And these are components of the budget. So you have personnel, benefit fringe, training, conferences, supplies, contracted services, program expenses, equipment purchases, and the administrative indirect costs. So all these you need to fill out with a yes or a no. Please don't leave them blank. And once we do that, it's going to open up. So let's go to the next slide, please. So if you click yes to any of these components, other information will be displayed. For example, we clicked yes for personnel, and it asks us, how many full-time personnel are on this budget, how many part-time personnel are on this budget. Thank you. And so once you click that, you're allowed to enter up to 15 full-time personnel and 15 part-time personnel. And so for our demonstration here, I clicked on just one. So one full-time personnel. So next slide, please. Okay, so thank you. So what I did here is I was filling in the information for the full-time personnel. So we put in there the CEO, filling in the data. So there are several fields you have to fill in here. So the title, number of personnel with this title, and salary, the salary itself, the percent of time allocated to the project. So in this case, I put CEO. One person has his title, salary is 30,000, and it's 1.0 or 100% of the time is being for this money is being allocated to this project. So you see over personnel one subtotal is 30,000, full-time personnel subtotal amount is 30,000. If we were to have 5 or 6 full-time personnel, we would have subtotals for each of those individuals, and then the full-time personnel budget amount for that category. In the part-time, we have put a VP in there. The hourly rate is $20 an hour. Number of hours is 40. And so it calculates, and Chevy, I mentioned this earlier, it calculates the amount. So, 20 times 40 is 800. And so that's the amount right there. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. So here we have fringe benefits for full-time, part-time personnel. So you fill in the title, the percentage, 100% or 1, and it calculates automatically 30,000, and part-time fringe 800. This is also 100% or 1, which equals 800. So automatically calculates that for you. Next slide, please. So the other categories here are training, conferences, supplies, and contracted services. And so here, what we did is for training conferences, we put that title on there. It's $6,977.14. And they have one training that they're going to be doing. And that's the total amount. So multiply those two fields and we get 6,977.14. In the supplies category, type supplies, $690, and that's going to be a monthly. So it's 12 months. We're going to be that'll be our expense for 12 months. So it multiplies those two fields and comes out with $8,280. And also for the contracted services, the same flow. We type in the contracted services as the narrative, $3,500, and that's going to be per month. So times 12 equals $42,000. Another calculated field, so you don't have to do that for yourself. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is the program admin and save. Okay, so we typed in our program admin expense here, and then $2,000 a month times 12 is 24,000. And our admin expense. So the admin expense cannot exceed 10% of direct costs. So I'll just say that again, the admin expense cannot exceed 12%, 10% of the direct cost. So in our case here, I put in 5% or 0.05, and it calculates that for us automatically right here, calculating the $7,142.86. It adds up the budget, adds up all of our components right here for us. So the total budget amount is $150,000. So if this were higher or lower, it would show that amount. What I'm looking for, what we are looking for, is the total budget amount to equal the amount that Family League had allocated us to use for this report. And you'll see the year-to-date expense is 0, which it should be because we have not spent anything. So now the budget is complete. The total budget amount is equal to the total budget amount is equal to the total budget amount. You notice here it says total budget amount is $150,000. Total award amount is $250,000. So you notice that there's a difference there. So that means for this report right here, the total budget amount is $150,000, which is what we budgeted for. The award amount is for $250,000. So we probably have another standard budget report with a different funding source attached to it for $100,000. Okay, so we saved the report, and you see this message here. It says request report was successfully updated, and that's how you know that it was saved. And as Chevy mentioned earlier, one update available in the second column, you know that the update has been taken and was successfully saved. Okay, next budget. Okay, so your budget cannot exceed. So let's say you had budgeted, it's supposed to be $150,000, and you had budgeted for $150,024. So we have put in a little warning in here, kind of we check out how much the amount is, and this is above the $150,000 that was for this report. And so what you need to do is go back in and edit your budget and make sure that you are allocating $150,000 and not an amount that is greater than that. Okay, next slide, thank you. So we have saved the report, and now it looks like this. Let's see, ready. Okay, and so what you can do is you can look up and down the report. You notice that you scroll on the report and notice how it looks differently right now. So you have the different categories, full-time personnel. And now it's the title there, the narrative, and how much the amount is in the right-hand side. So it kind of looks like a spreadsheet a little bit. And it has the full-time personnel, the part-time personnel. It has the fringe. It has the training, conferences, plus all the different categories are there. And you want to just scroll down and make sure that it's all correct. And then if it's not, you would go on the right-hand column all the way up top. That's right, hit the edit button and go ahead, edit it, and make sure that it is what you want it to be. So you can always edit that. Thank you. So if you scroll down to the bottom of the report, you'll notice that you see the administrative indirect cost. Total budget amount is $150,000, which is what we want. And the year-to-date expenses is 0, which is correct. Okay, next, no, just a second, I'll stay here. So as Chevy mentioned earlier, document upload. You can always upload documents here. Let's say Family League asks you to upload a document to verify some expense. For example, you can upload a document here. You click on the plus sign on the right-hand side, and that will bring up the screen Chevy mentioned earlier, where you can upload documents. So it probably isn't really going to happen, but it can happen, and that's how you do that. So once you are all set, you click the submit button, and this message will come up, which is request report was successfully updated. And then it's going to leave. It's going to leave your portal. Okay. So once you click the submit button, that message comes up, and then it's going to leave your portal. It was not gone for good. It's just leaving your portal. And it's really going to the Family League side of things, portal, let's say. And Family League will take a look at your report, and they're going to review your report. Okay, so here we are at the Family League reviews the budget. So they took a look at what you have budgeted, and it looks great. And so what they're going to do is if it is appropriate, they will move the report to the Q1 report state. They're going to change the due date. So if you look at that highlighted kind of green area there, it has due 10/15/2020. And notice that the status or state of the report has changed to the Q1 report state. So now the report is due, it's in the Q1 report state. So in October, when all your expenses are done for Q1, you want to record those expenses before the due date of 10/15/20 in this example. And now you're ready to enter your Q1 expenses. Okay, so here's your report back to your portal as you would see it. And notice a few things have changed. And so you have the full-time personnel, you have the title approved budget of $30,000, but then you have other columns that are available now. So you have Q1 expenses, Q2, 3, 4, year-to-date expenses, and unexpended funds. So notice nothing has been spent yet because we have not recorded any expenses. So we started with 30,000 for the CEO, and we have not spent anything. So our unexpended funds is equal to that amount, which is 30,000. Okay, so standard budget report. You scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll notice that we're in Q1 expenses. We have not spent anything. We also have put in here a % of awards spent as of Q1. So we try to spend, and we try to, ask you to spend about 25% per quarter, but it doesn't always work out that way. But it's just kind of a general guide to go by. And then it has total year-to-date expenses right there. Okay, let me just get here. Okay. Okay, so now we're ready to enter in our Q1 expenses. So we hit the edit button and we are in the report, and this is how it appears to us. And so we have for the full-time personnel 1, our CEO, we have Q1 expenses, and there's a box there to enter in our expenses. And as I mentioned earlier, it should probably be about 25% for the Q1 expenses. And so the same is for the part-time expenses right there. So let's just scroll down. Okay, very good. So I entered in there $7,500, and you'll notice that we have calculated fields here. And so the budget amount is 30,000. And for Q1 expenses, we spent 7,500. Year to date is the exact same amount. And then the full-time personnel unexpended has now been calculated at 22,500. So thank you, Rachel. So that is where we are. So that'll calculate automatically for you. And that's in for each of the categories we calculate automatically for you. In the second instance where we had the VP, we spent $200. And so we started with 800, we spent 200, year to date's 200, and now we have $600 left in our budget. Okay, thank you. The next slide, please. Okay, so after we save the report, we entered in all of our expenses for all of our categories, we would see this screen. And so I just like to mention, it's always good to save. You can save as often as you want to. Let's say you're interrupted by something or something's going on, just save it and come on back in later on. It's always good to save. So we save the report, and you'll see here, I just wanted to make a note that if we look at the full-time personnel, we have our CEO, our Q1 expenses now has $77,500 in them. Our year-to-date is the exact same because we have our Q1 expenses there. And our unexpended funds is now $22,500. So those fields have been calculated for each of the categories for full-time personnel, part-time, the fringe, part-time benefits, and technical training. You will see that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, you want to scroll through the entire budget report here, standard budget report. Notice your Q1 expenses has been calculated for you at 42,182.86, and that is what you have spent for Q1. You have spent 28% of your budget, which is pretty good. That's basically online. What we're kind of looking for 25%, for each quarter. It doesn't have to be, but kind of like to have it like that if it can be, but doesn't have to be, that's for sure. And the year-to-date expenses is 42,182.86, which of course would match that. So now your you're good to go. If you found something that was incorrect and that you made a mistake on, you hit the edit button and go ahead and edit that information. And you can always print this anytime you want to. Just print it and you'll have a copy as a PDF. So if all is good and you're ready to go, at the bottom right-hand corner is the submit button. And so you would go ahead and submit the report. Next slide, please. Okay. That is how you do your Q1 expenses and create your budget. And let me get the chat up here. Are there any questions that I missed? I see. Thank you, Kiana.
You're welcome. I just want to reiterate that expense reports are due the 10th day, and it's no longer the 15th.
Okay.
And that's due in part to our funders requiring us to report to them by the 15th. So that in turn required us to push up the date for our partners.
Thank you, Kiana.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments? Did I get everything?
I think you did, Patrick. Thank you so much. I don't see another one up there, so thank you.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. And please reach out to Chevy or myself. Anytime you want to have a budget question or anything dealing with funding track, we'd be glad to assist you and walk through the process. So thank you very much.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you to Chevy and Patrick from our IT team for such a wonderful detailed overview of Funding Track today. Funding Track, as many of you know, is a fundamental component of our partnership. And it's really, really important that you gain a full understanding of its purpose and its use, from registering to uploading documents to properly saving, then submitting, as Chevy highlighted, to also reporting. So to all of our partners, we want to thank you so much for attending, and today and any of the other sessions that you were able to participate in as well. So we thank you. Our goal this week was to provide you with specific information and useful tools to help guide you through the partnership, as I stated, preparing you for this exciting upcoming year and ensuring that all contract requirements are fulfilled, which is extremely important. We encourage you to view these recorded sessions and refer back to specific instructions or guides to help you navigate our contracting, programming, and payment process. Please, please take advantage of all the support mechanisms that have been shared with you by my colleagues throughout the week as well, just in case you run into any challenges. Our website, www.familylead.org, contains all of the contact information for the departments and staff members, specifically their emails, so that you can reach out to them to receive the assistance that you need. Specifically for Funding Track assistance, as Chevy and Patrick shared today, the help desk email is support@familylead.org. They'll be more than happy to help you with any questions or any hiccups you may experience while you're in the system. I want to give a special thank you to my Family Lead colleagues, affectionately known as the family, for all of their coordination and participation this week, and for providing the information about their departments, programs, and the tools, along with the awesome work that they do. I cannot leave out our two partners, Keys and Powers and Beyond the Natural Foundation, for their informative and extremely lively presentations on Tuesday. Everyone really enjoyed them. We enjoyed your enthusiasm. We appreciate you sharing the keys to your success. And more importantly, we definitely appreciate your dedication to the work that your organization provides. As a reminder, each day's virtual session will be made available to each of you via email, and will also be made available on our website on tomorrow, Friday, August the 20th. And lastly, our final local hiring information session, as I stated earlier, will take place this afternoon at 1 p.m. The link was shared in the chat earlier. So please use it, and we hope that you come back later today to join us for this important compliance component. We are thrilled about this upcoming year partnership with you, so that together we can make a significant and positive impact in the communities of Baltimore City. And here's to a magnificent and impactful year to you all. So thank you and have a wonderful rest of the day.